Everybody saw this coming. Everybody knows of it. Everybody saw this coming. Everybody started running.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to talk about some very interesting things that are happening. First off, China rehearses assault on U.S. stealth fighter bases. Beijing military stages attacks on F-35 and F-22 jets as it looks to deter American intervention in Taiwan. Now, this story has actually inspired today's video because there's some illogical things about this practice, and there's some questions we have in our brain of actually why are they doing this? We have covered a lot of things over the last 5 or 6 years, and over the last year, it really is some concerning stories that it looks like a framework building up to a certain event. So we're going to talk about that right now. But first of all, China is bombing models of American fighter jets as part of a rehearsal of a military assault. New satellite photos have revealed the images taken by Planet Labs over a remote desert area in northwest China show massive scorch marks next to low-tech models of F-35s and F-22s, some of the most advanced jets used by the U.S. armies. It says that the photos also show a long runway with several scorch marks on the top end. It is not currently known exactly what weapons were used to leave the marks, but the Times reported that the scale of them would suggest precision missiles were used. Now, precision missiles, again, I don't know how many of or how exactly those can be launched outside of some advanced jets, but we have some ideas that we wanted to run by you today. The desert, the Taklamakan Xinjiang province, already hosts military testing sites. 3 years ago, it was revealed that China had built up models of an American Ford-class aircraft carrier and 2 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. Now, we actually showed you that back then they actually made full-on replicas. And it's funny that this story came out today because just last night I was talking about this. It's just weird how that ends up. We were just talking about this last night, how they made these full-scale models of these carriers. I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of feet large replicas of our carriers. They're not looking to defeat Zimbabwe. We're talking about U.S. carriers, exact replicas, at least in size, and they are targeting them, training their missiles on them, training their AI on them. That is exactly what they are doing with mock-ups of our F-22s and F-35s. And they're not doing it up in the air. They're doing it as if they were going to hit a base. So we're going to talk about that. We have some interesting stories from the past year and a half that we think that everybody should be, of course, putting together right now. Before we do, though, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. One of the most likely scenarios that we've talked about is an EMP strike from any of our adversaries. It's one of the easiest to do as far as the 3 major countries we're dealing with right now: North Korea, Russia, and China, and even Iran. In fact, 4. And it is something that does not directly take lives, but it would knock out our entire grid. If you want to protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, and boats, and generators, solar generators, and even your home against an EMP or even a Carrington-level event from the sun, then go over and get an EMP shield. This can easily be wired in 10 minutes, and your car and such, etc., is protected. It will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car. That way you can get home to your family or get out to bug out. If you're the only running car on the road, it will be a good thing. So marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Other than that, keeping your generator working, keeping your house and all of the appliances wired in within 250 linear feet, then yeah, that's a huge deal. So let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So first of all, today's video is not to scare anybody. We are going over stories that we have covered over the last 2 years now. Now, this most recent one, they're practicing on this. This is what inspired this video. So first of all, they are actually practicing with these jets being in formation of essentially being at a base. Now, Dex and I were talking earlier, and we're like, well, they're practicing hitting jets at a base. And Dex, you had a natural response. Well, it's not like our jets are just going to be sitting there, but that's the thing. We have actually covered other stories revolving around this. Now, this is a story that everyone should know. This is something that is going to really point out why it matters that they're potentially practicing hitting bases. Now, you guys know we didn't even put this in there, but they've been practicing landing our jets, our huge cargo jets, A-10 Warthogs. All of our allies have been doing the same on freeways. Now, the only reason you would need to land on a freeway as a military jet or a military plane is if the bases and the airfields were taken out. That is exactly what they're practicing for. Now, this was a story from January 19th of this year. So this is about 6 months ago. And this is something I've pointed out a lot. This is a technology that they are talking about right now. In its simulation, the laboratory researchers assumed that together with its warplanes, the combat range of a U.S. aircraft carrier was 620 miles. However, the Chinese military could fire its hypersonic missiles from 745 miles away. If you do the math, that means they can hit them before they can hit China. It says away and set its satellites into action. The hypersonic missiles would head skyward for over 124 miles. At the same time, the satellite's electronic warfare systems present over the U.S. carriers keep suppressing their detection through radar. So this is something that they simulated, essentially a low Earth satellite that would be able to suppress the early warning systems of our carriers and our bases and any other thing that was actually there to detect them coming, hence not getting a warning that it is actually happening. Again, according to the researchers, merely 3 satellites in low Earth orbit would be sufficient to carry out such an attack, whereas 28 such satellites would be sufficient to carry out a global strike. So 3 satellites could take out an attack. 28 would be able to knock out early warning systems in this simulation of all of the systems global. So this is a global strike. This is what I've been talking about, and again, this is assuming that they haven't built these satellites yet. Now, we have actually been tracking. China has been launching one thing after another, launch, on top of Russia launching top secret payloads and actually releasing objects into space. So just put 2 and 2 together here. You've got No Limits partners, China and Russia, and they're launching not only rockets, but rockets that are releasing top secret things into space, which they've even warned us that the public needs to know now. Mike Turner and Jim Hines actually said, there's no worry to panic, but we need to tell the public right now. It needs to be declassified. Others actually said what Mike Turner said was a huge, huge break of top secrecy, that he shouldn't have said it. And again, this is something that I've been following since this happened. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and they already have well over 550-ish satellites in orbit already, and they've just recently, in the last year or so, we're working on plans to launch another 10,000. So this whole notion that all they need is 3 to 28 to be able to do something like this, they may already have that. It's not just any satellite, it's a specific type, but it's also not something that's uncommon. It's something that they've already developed.
Now, this piece is over at marfooglenews.com, but it talks about how these fake F-22s and these fake ships are actually helping. It helps train all of their missiles. It helps train their AI systems to be able to detect and to hit these systems. Now, hitting the F-22s at a base, now that really wouldn't work, especially if we have early warning systems. Those jets are going to be up in the air in a matter of minutes. But what if there is a system in play that's coordinated in a global strike that would actually have all of our early warning systems down? Now, it's starting to kind of make sense why they're hitting early warning systems in Russia. It seems like something's about to go down. But again, I digress. There's even more on top of this. It says that these mock-ups would be very practical in this context, helping China develop and refine its missiles, a key part of China's defense strategy. China has previously conducted missile testing out in the desert. China has been building these mock-ups for years and apparent targets both past and present. Now remember, they also made an exact replica building of the Taiwanese capital. So one thing that we are talking about is a potential event where they go to take Taiwan. Other countries end up popping off their wars because now they're all in cahoots. They're all working together. They're all signing written treaties. the goal is to split the United States military and Navy up as much as possible, because the only simulation where the U.S. loses is if we are fighting more than one major war. Every country, including our own, admitted this. As far as if you were to take out Taiwan, well, if the U.S. is going to come and step in, if we're going to send our jets, if we're going to send all that, well, what would you do? You would knock out those jets before they get up in the air. That would be a big thing. But, well, again, how would you hit jets before they get up in the air? You would have to literally get them at the base. That's why I'm saying it's really important to look at what the framework that they're building is. They're not practicing on other dummy jets, and they're doing that as well, but they're practicing on jets parked at an airfield. They're not in any kind of, I guess they could hit a Filipino base or something with, I don't even know what their Air Force is, but again, they could be hitting a smaller party and practicing for that. But these are F-22s and F-35s, so they're practicing specifically on targeting U.S. jets. China debuts container-type missile launch system. Weapon can effectively improve defense capabilities of coastal countries. Dex, do you want to go over, again, the whole
this is something we've talked about for a long time, and you guys, many people in the audience, you know this, but just think about how this all comes together. These are those containers. Now, these happen to be decked out in digital camo, what you're seeing on the screen, but that is a container. It looks like a container. It sits on a container ship, and it's full of missiles. It's full of weaponry. And the whole idea is you can deploy them on cargo ships. You could bring them in painted looking like a cargo ship, and then you would have weapons that are available to be used immediately as they enter a port, or even after they've entered a port if they make it through security.
And it makes you wonder, like, what does get through security? Well, all the time, there's actual humans that get through in these containers. You would think that these scanners that they take to these containers are really good, but if you pay the right person, and say if you have, I don't know, the right country in charge of a lot of these ports, like one is, then maybe there's a chance that some Homeland Security guy who's in charge of scanning is paid to turn the other way, and in return gets a spot at the new table. Who knows? Again, these are really, really crazy questions to ask, but are we really in a time where we can't ask them? Like right now, we are sitting at a precipice of an entire event going on in the United States. You have Israel and, of course, Iran. You've got the whole Middle East about to set fire. Turkey is encouraging everybody in the Middle East. They're saying that the entire Middle East might be lit up if certain things happen. You've got Russia and UKR. You've got NATO supporting, of course, UKR. You've got China supporting Russia. You've got Venezuela about to take Guyana. They have voted. They said, hey, what about taking over our neighbor? You've got Cuba, 200,000 soldiers loading up off of the Florida coastline. You've got Russia popping up submarines in the middle of NATO. You have Russia off of our west coast launching missiles as a drill. You've got them off our east coast with their whole armada, which is something that they didn't have the balls to do a couple years ago. Now they are doing all of that because they have a newfound confidence. I wonder what that confidence is. Now, of course, another thing you would have to do if you were to try to take out all of our bases is you might want to have, I don't know, some sort of close by, maybe, I don't know, somebody possibly watching them. I don't know. But here's the thing. This has actually been posted, and there is a picture on this thumbnail that shows, Dr. Phil even showed our former president this map. And it basically shows the direct correlation of the lineup of all of this land, farm land, being purchased by a certain country right next to all of our bases. It lines up with all of our bases. It's actually kind of concerning, to say the least. All of the bases and then the farmland, some of them across the street. Now you ask yourself, oh, well, maybe they're spying and just watching. Well, anybody could do that. They could buy a single house. Japan sent one man. One man was taking pictures as a tourist in Pearl Harbor 1, right? One guy was diving around with a bamboo frickin' snorkel, and he was able to do what he was able to keep track of everything. Just one guy. So somebody could literally buy a house nearby, a house, not farmland. They're buying farmland with warehouses and storage and farms and sheds where they could possibly build things. They could accrue people. They could put things together. That's what I'm saying. It's like all of these things by themselves are concerning by themselves. But when you really look at the big picture and step back, what the hell is actually going on? Not to mention the numbers coming in through the bottom part of our country are absolutely insane. It went from like 1,200 a month, and then all of a sudden it shot up to 3,300. The next month it was like 20,000+. Then it was in the 30,000s. We have no idea what it's at now. And these are all gentlemen, 18 to 25, military men without a family, and they're all coming over buzz cuts and freaking camo. So is it really wrong to ask the question and to really ask, like, what could happen? This is a speculative video, and I hope that if you go look back through all of the different articles we have placed here, it's not hard to see a bigger picture starting to form. It's not pulling dots and connecting dots that aren't there. It's stuff that has now been called out. Even our former president was sat down, and freaking Dr. Phil, of all people, sat down and showed him the map and said, hey, what about this? There is no answer for that. When they say this, there has been no answer. Why are they buying the land? Why are they practicing all this? Why are they doing all of these things? Again, that's the answer that we think that most of us are going to try to answer on our own. But again, what if it's too late, right? What if nobody asks these questions together until it's already too late? So again, we have attached this over at marfooglenews.com, and today's show, all you have to do is look for this thumbnail. Go look at what we've put there, and there's so much more too. If you have something to add to it or a story from the past that we've covered, put it in the comments below. And I know we didn't want to cover and make this a 2-hour video. There's a lot of things happening right now that all look like framework building up to a massive event. And the people that say, oh, it's fear, 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 that means they're afraid. You need to be mentally prepared. If there's a scenario that even a 1% chance of happening, you need to be mentally prepared for it to happen. And you've already needed to go through and think about it in your brain. You need to actually run through these things. Oh, is that crazy? Well, the military does it every single day. In fact, it's called preparedness. They run through unexpected drills. Heck, the military practices for alien invasions, for gosh sakes. They actually have that in different practices. So think about it. They prepare for the most unlikely scenario. But is this really the most unlikely? Is it something? Again, I've talked about a Harbor 2.0 event. It would be needed. Some sort of Harbor 2.0 event would be needed for the U.S. to be directly involved in a world war overnight. And I guarantee you, instead of people saying, oh, we need to get out of all of this conflict, after the right kind of event, people will be lining up to sign up for the military. It's what's happened in all of the previous conflicts. History repeats. So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. And Dex, am I missing something? Because I do feel like I always end up missing something important.
You know, I think just the whole idea here is when you sort of connect these dots, and I think you connected all of the dots here. When you connect these dots and think about what's at risk, whether it be on the homeland or in our territories where we're trying to protect the Pacific, or in our allied countries where we have bases and we're trying to potentially protect Taiwan or South Korea or the Philippines, all of this is at play. And we have to understand, like, what are they going to do? Because they're not just building a military to have a military. They're building a military to first strike against the U.S.
And I did forget something important. So everybody laughed off the balloons. Those, I don't know if those could be considered low Earth satellites, but a system like that, could that carry that low Earth satellite system that would knock out early warning systems? Now, I ask this because they actually say that they have a facility mass producing those balloons. Everybody has been worried about them possibly carrying EMP weapons or dropping things or releasing something. But think about that. If they release those in mass and shut down all of the different systems or jam the signals, then even if we know they're coming down and we're taking them out left and right, or trying to, again, that last balloon, they had to have a special plane go up to that height to get it down. We didn't even have a system to knock it out of the sky safely. That's why they had to send something up there. Will we have enough if 10,000 of those start flying over? Well, we don't have a system in place, and that's why Senate and Congress asked for that to be done. They've given Congress frickin' sat phones in case of an emergency, all of these kind of events. And then, of course, other countries are preparing for a civil, or not even a civil conflict. Some of the plans are called Noah's Ark, like Russia's plan. And they said that that was in case UKR not only valiantly pushes them back, but somehow then goes in and takes over Russia. That's what the media called the Noah's Ark plan when it leaked. They said it was a plan to take all of the leadership of Russia and bounce out. I don't really believe that. I think it's very, very odd, all of the things that are happening, all of the richest people in the world, including Zuckerberg making their $270 million mansion bunkers. You've got Sam Altman and Elon Musk and all these people that are extreme preppers, including the ones, the other people that are buying up all of the rest of the farmland. They have bunkers under all of their locations. So again, what is actually going on? It's a question that everybody should be asking, and everybody needs to stop being afraid of talking about this kind of stuff. It shouldn't be taboo, and it should be talked about out loud. Thank you guys, and again, hopefully none of this happens. But if it does, you've already mentally ran through it, and you'll be able to recognize it if any of these things start happening. Dex, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Join us on our other channel. We are going to do a short announcement over on our other channel, and then we're going to have a happy 4th of July. There is a warning that we are going to be going over on the next video. That is a basic 4th of July warning that has now been put out. It's actually kind of a concerning one. So join us if you want to watch that. Watch right here.
Everybody saw this coming. Everybody started running.